Activating meridians. Alignment. Instability in field. Negative. Charge. Aligning matrix field. Positive. Coordinates reached, Commander.
Activate the Sade field.
Activations of multidimensional engines.
Launch communications probe.
Power levels to maximum.
Activate all dimensional levels of communication.
Communication established.
The voice you hear is known as Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our destination. This is the last slave planet in the galaxy. Under all agreements, under all rights, under galactic law, we now proclaim this planet free. The descension of the true human consciousness has begun.
Energizing Shambhala diamonds.
The men, women, and children of this planet are now set free.
Grid field activated.
You have already reached
Activate Shambhala diamond.
critical mass.
Integration onto microcosm. Expanding linear space.
Prepare for landing.
Free space activation. Landing. Caution. All crew members to station. This is the Starship Bob. We are landing.
Okay, my brothers, I'm just putting a shout out there for grasshoppermedia.ca. I didn't create this. Many years ago now, I met a man who was going to be a Catholic priest, and he decided to not be that the day that he was going to be inaugurated into the clergy. Instead, he decided to just go into a tiny little community called Alexandria here in Canada, and he just helped people. He's helping people, and he loves people. And he told me one day, he said, "You're a gesture. You're like a joker," and that's not an insult. You're the only one in the king's court that can tell the truth. So I want you to go ahead and do that. And I want you to be like Grasshopper from Aesop's fable. And I want you to sing and dance and not worry about the winter that's coming. Because all those ants, they're just working for the queen. And that queen, she's got nothing on happiness and freedom and unconditional love. And that's what we have in between each other. And everyone listening to the sound of my voice is invited to join Grasshopper Media. Use the logo, use the blog, use anything you can, or create your own stuff, whatever you want. Do whatever you can. Just do whatever you can to show unconditional love, and try not to get yourself arrested. Try not to get yourself put in a mental ward. But at the same time, you might have to go there. You might have to learn something. There may be people in there who need you. But right now, in the airwaves, with the internet and all the ability for us, don't be afraid. There is nothing to be afraid of, because we have love on our side. We got God on our side, if that's what you want to call it. All I know is that I've been reading the King James Version, and I got a feeling there's some serious frequency in that book. And that book has been helping me. And I got in there, and the first thing in the mental ward, when I got into the mental ward, I asked, "Can I have a Bible, please?" And they said no. And then I found out that almost everyone in that entire place has one in their back pocket. It's weird. Coincidences are happening faster than ever. And all I want you to do is do what you do. Do what you do best. You know, you get paid thousands of dollars a day, every day, to do what you love doing, as long as you do what you love instead of trying to hurt other people. And those dollars, they're counted up as minutes while you sleep at night, because you can actually sleep at night because you're not out there trying to make money.
Hello, we're back. Darkcity show strikes again, and I'm very excited because for a very long time I've been trying to get my friend Litmus to come on, and Litmus has done a wonderful freedom project website, all kinds of things about freedom, and Litmus really lives it because he's got himself a van down on the beach on the Algarve. And anyway, Litmus, tell us a bit about yourself and things.
Hey, Crash, how are you doing?
Yeah, great. All the better now to hear you too.
Hello, Litmus.
Hey, Kaz, how are you doing, darling?
I'm doing very well. I'm just making dinner, though.
You're making dinner? You can't make dinner live on the radio.
I know. I shouldn't.
We've got away with all sorts of things live on radio.
Okay, well, maybe we shouldn't go into too much detail on that.
I hear you got your guitar there, and would you happen to have a tune that might be suitable?
How's that? Can you hear that?
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Beautiful.
How about I play one of your favourites?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, will you tell the story that leads up to it, though, because it's just a cracker.
You mean the Shut Up one?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
It's going to follow on rather nicely from Rick's show, I would think.
Yeah, it will, actually.
All right, cool. Well, I listened into a bit of Rick's show, subject to battery life, you know. But I thought maybe to start I'll play you a little song I know you're a bit partial to, called it's called Shut Up and Skin Up. And I wrote this about 2010. I went with a couple of mates before I actually left to go on the road full time. I left with a couple of mates in the van, and we went over to Belgium and Holland for a busking tour. And I just come off the Sunrise. I did Sunrise Festival 2010. I kind of legged it out the tent after my third three-man presentation and drove sort of back east to pick up my mates and stuff. And we just missed the midnight ferry, and we got the 2 a.m. ferry. So I'd been driving, all day from like Glastonbury, and then we got on the ferry. We got off the ferry. Of course, we had a little drink on the ferry and a bit of a smoke, and that's another story. But anyway, we kind of got to this beach in Belgium or somewhere as the sun was coming up, and then we were kind of there all day. And later that evening, I wrote this song because I was dying for a joint, and my mate was bloody yakking away. So anyway, I wrote this song called Shut Up and Skin Up. So if anyone out there is talking, all your mates can tell you, shut up and skin up. Driving all day and all night. Now I need a little respite. You have been gassing all night, spouting a right load of shite. But I will forgive you alright if you shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up for me. I need some more THC to save me from my reverie. So if you care anything for me, you'll shut up and skin up. I'm so tired. I need an illusion spire. I'm so drained. Please help me out of my brain. There is between us a rift, but I'll say to you, watch the blip. If you roll me a fucking great split, if you shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up for me. I need some more THC to save me from my reverie. So if you care anything for me, you'll shut up and skin up. Yeah, I need some more THC to save me from my reverie. So if you care anything for me, you shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up. Shut up and skin up for me.
Great job, brother.
Wow, lovely. No,
How was that?
see why we love it so much.
Was that all right? Did it come through okay?
Yes, came through great.
Cool. I'm getting a bit of crossover from the various feeds. It sounds like we got quite a big chat group going on here.
We have, I think there's 8 or 9 of us at least in the chat at the moment, and all of that crossover, that was all accolades coming your way.
And you're right,
Well,
we all
thanks.
need more THC.
Say again, I missed that.
Yeah, Litmus. Litmus, just so you know, you're new to us, that's Brick Simpson from Rum the Cure.
And I
Yeah,
agree.
Rick.
We all do need more THC. You're absolutely correct, brother.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, it was nice listening to some of your show earlier. Really good stuff.
Thank you. I mean, as
Yeah,
long as we can get the message to the people, but, sometimes it gets a bit frustrating. I'll give you a quick example. Quite a few years ago, I was doing a lot of seminars, around this area, and I spoke at the medical school, or medical university in Halifax, Dalhousie University, 3 or 4 different times. And one day I was home, and I was listening to a talk show in Halifax, and a local politician had just died from cancer. So I called the talk show, I called in, and when they put me on the air, and I said, well, it's a great shame that this man has died, but if he hadn't been quite so close-minded about cannabis, he could still be alive. Well,
Yeah,
you should have heard the calls after that. You'd think I'd slap the dead man in the face or something. So about a week later, they asked me to come back on the air. So I went on and I did an hour-long show with Rick Howe at CJCH Radio in Halifax. And we get up there, and I mean, the first thing I did, I challenged the medical system. I told them, I said, if what I'm saying isn't true, then you should have no fear of this. So why don't we just take 12 cancer patients, 6 that want to go through the medical system, and 6 that want to take the cannabis oil. And I said, that'll prove once and for all, who's telling the truth here. And there was people calling in, calling in from around the Halifax area. Some of them had called in, people that I had treated with terminal cancers and cured them. They were calling in, and I challenged the system openly. But nothing ever happened. This was a very popular talk show. I challenged the system, but yet the people wouldn't force the issue. They should have got behind me and said, okay, well, they can prove it. And I would have, but they wouldn't allow it. And actually, the guy that the show I did, about 2 months later, he got canceled. And I think it probably had something to do with this issue.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Litmus,
it's such a
Litmus,
sad
you're living down in Portugal at the moment, aren't you?
Well, I'm living in my van, you know, and my van happens to be in Portugal at the moment. Yeah.
Happens to be in Portugal. I was going to ask you about the legalization status in Portugal. Do you know much about that?
Oh, all I can say is I haven't needed to worry about it.
Yeah, I know a good friend of mine moved from England to Portugal here about 3 years ago, and that was the reason she moved, and she loves it there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not a problem. I mean, like Praz was saying, I mean, I live in my camper van, so I've been all over Europe for the last 3 years or so on the road, gigging and busking in the street and stuff like that. But I came to Portugal last winter. I got the call in, you know, and having got down here last winter and seen how beautiful and unspoilt the Algarve is, it's like the best kept secret in the world as far as I can see. It's fantastic.
It's one of them.
Yeah, one of them. And obviously cannabis is another one. Or the healing power of cannabis, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the beaches down here, they're really undeveloped and natural and unspoilt, and you got the Atlantic Ocean on, you know, two sides of you, and you can literally park your van on the beach and wake up. Yeah, I mean, it's like a millionaire's lifestyle. You're looking out your window onto the sea every day, wherever you are, you know. And the cops are really cool. Sometimes if there's quite a few of you at a beach, they'll come down, and maybe if it gets a bit, you know, too much, they might ask you to move on. But they're really cool. They never hassle you. There's no notices up saying no parking or anything. You can park anywhere. And like, as I always say to people, as long as you don't take the piss and get loads of washing out and dogs running around and make loads of mess everywhere, if you treat the place with respect, they respect you, and it's a really, really great place to hang out. There's a lot of people buying land down here because it's cheap, and setting up eco communities, and lots of sort of hippies living on the land and stuff. And yeah, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say too much. Everyone will be coming down here, but no, it's great.
Litmus,
And-
I'll just bump everybody off the server, mate, and then you can tell us all about it, and we'll come and share the secret.
Okay.
Litmus, do you get a chance to do any of your Freeman stuff in Portugal, or you're not really hassled too much about things? How do you get on with insurance and stuff for the van and all that kind of thing?
Well, there's two things there. I mean, I'm always talking about Freeman stuff. I meet surfers and lots of free-minded people, obviously, in this kind of environment. So most days at the beach or up in the woods or wherever we happen to be hanging out, you know, you're meeting people passing through, or people coming to surf schools. Maybe you were still in the system, but they're kind of, nature inclined and inclined towards freedom and stuff. And, you know, so we're always talking, and I'm always kind of, carrying on spreading the word, giving out cards with the website, and telling some of the stories. So that goes
and
on.
writing a heap of songs.
Yeah, and writing more songs all the time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bloody record some of these things one day more instead of keep writing them, I think. But yeah, so that goes on regularly. But on the other hand, as you said about how do I find it with insurance and stuff, basically what I found is over the last 3 years, if you haven't completely deregistered your person and completely got out of the jurisdiction of any sort of nation state claiming dominion over a territory and claiming that it's a country, if you haven't actually gone that whole hog and done that yet, then the best status to be, I found, is what we might call an alien abroad. If you're from one jurisdiction and you're in another, regardless of the status of your vehicle or yourself in your home jurisdiction, you just don't get any hassle because you're not bound by their jurisdiction. So as long as you don't harm anyone, obviously you're free to come and go and do what you want. So I've never had any hassle.
And you've got a lot of your stuff in trust as well, haven't you? Which is another way of keeping the official hands off it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've set up my trust, the Troubadour Trust. You know, it's part of Michael Abinish's UCT, Universal Community Trust. But you know, that's the setting up of the thing is very straightforward. You know, you can do it just by declaring it. But you know, obviously, it helps to kind of document it as well. But yeah, I mean, there's stuff in trust back in Britain, but it doesn't really make a lot of difference because I didn't get a lot of hassle anyway before I left because of the way I went about, not paying tax and stuff. You know, I only did it in protest against the war and so that my tax money wouldn't be used for spending on military and bailing out banks and the debt and all the other bad things, which actually mean if we do that, if we pay tax, we're basically breaking the law. We're breaking UK law, we're breaking international law, we're breaking common law, whatever you want to look at. So, you know, that's why I did it. But so I didn't get a lot of hassle. I discharged credit and I stopped paying taxes, and I really, apart from getting stopped by the police a few times when I didn't have tax on the car, that was it really. And then
how did that go when they stopped you? Is it good epic story to relate?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, anyone who's seen any of my talks will have heard it. But the first time I got stopped with no tax on the car was about the day before I sent my notice to the DVLA, actually. So the tax had run out on the car. This is back 2009, I think it was. And I was on my way to my mates to watch footy because I do still dip into the Matrix now and again, you know. I still watch a bit of football, believe it or not. So a horribly corrupt and evil game full of overpaid prima donnas, but I still enjoy watching it. So I was on my way to my mate Scotty's house to watch the footy, and I pulled out of a street and a copper went by, and you know the lights went on in the rear view mirror. He turned round and followed me, and that was the first time I'd had anything like that really. Certainly since doing the Freeman stuff. So you know the sphincter sort of starts clenching a bit, and the nerves start going because of 30 years or whatever it is of conditioning you had from childhood of watching movies and TV cop shows and your mum and dad telling you and people in authority telling you this is bad and this is wrong and you know you're going to get done. And so as soon as you see lights go on and a jam sandwich following, you know, you start to get nervous. But then the little voice said, no, come on, you know, this is what you've been waiting for. This is a good test. Something dropped out there. Are we still on?
Yep, you're still loud and clear.
Yep. We're still here, honey.
We're paying close attention.
Okay, I'll carry on then. Sorry, I just heard one of those Skype things like the line went dead or something. Anyway, yeah, so I thought, you know, this is a good opportunity to test what I believe in and what I've researched and what I believe to be the truth, that not having tax on your vehicle isn't going to get you a ticket. It's not going to get you a fine. It's not going to get you arrested. You know, basically, it's not going to be a problem because all the coppers will do if they see you without tax is report you to the DVLA, and it's them. They're the agency under contract to Her Majesty's government who come after you. So I thought, well, let's see if this is true. You know, so you know, I pulled in and the guy came to the window and I wound the window down, and his name was Phil. And he's now featured in one of my songs called No Tax for War, which you can, maybe I'll play it later, but you can get it on the website and on the SoundCloud and everything. But he was a really nice guy, actually, this guy Phil, and he said, you know, I've stopped you because I noticed you haven't got tax on display. And I said, yeah, well, that's because I don't want to be complicit in war crimes. And he said, oh, what do you mean? You know, and I said, well, obviously if we pay tax, we're contributing to military expenditure, which is killing innocent people abroad. So I can't pay tax. I discovered if I pay tax, I'm breaking the law. And he said, oh, you better give me some details. You know, what's your name? And I said, well, you know, why am I obliged to give you any details? And he said, well, you know, because I've stopped you, I need to take some details. And I said, well, if you can't tell me the law under which I'm obliged to give you some details, I don't see that I should give you any details. So, and I think he quoted the 1988 Road Traffic Act or something, which under statute he obviously believes that gives him some power. So I said, look, I can show you, because he wanted to see license and ID and all that. And I said, look, I can show you some papers pertaining to my legal fiction, but I want you to understand I'm doing this under protest and duress, and this is not me. This is a legal entity of which I'm the lawful representative. And my voice was a bit shaky because I was a bit nervous, and it was the first time I'd done that, you know. But he looked a bit puzzled, and he said, I haven't got a bloody clue what you're talking about, you know, to be honest. And I said, well, there we go. There's what you want to see. There's the license and stuff. As I say, that isn't me. That's a legal entity created by the registration on birth, and I'm not consenting to the fact that is me. You know, I'm a flesh and blood man, and my name is this of the family that, and all the, you know, all the usual stuff. And he said, oh, let me go away and check this out. And he checked it out, and it was okay. And he said, have you got insurance? And I said, yeah, of course I have, you know, because I don't want to. I know insurance is a scam, but until we can self-insure, I believe we need to keep insurance so that we can compensate our fellow man in the event of any accident. Even though there's a slush fund paid for by premiums on all insurance policies for people who don't have insurance, but you know, I believe being a free man is about taking responsibility for your own actions. So I did have insurance, and I still do have insurance. I'll tell you more about that later. And I showed him that, and I still had an MOT at the time. So I showed him that, and basically he said, look, I'm going to have to report you to the DVLA for not having tax. And I said, yeah, I understand that, but by the time you do that, they'll have already had my notice explaining why I'm deregistering my private conveyance, so that because the tax that they take off you for vehicle registration and licensing is goes into the consolidated fund, and therefore it can be used for war and death, which, you know, particularly the war, I'm not contributing to, and I can't under the law anyway, because if I do, I'm complicit in war crimes. So he said, oh, okay, well, he said, to be honest, mate, he said, I think it's great what you're doing. He said, I wish maybe more people should do this, you know. He said, I didn't realize, you know, myself, but he said, actually, you know, and we got chatting about, you know, the role of the police and the fact that they're there, you know, to keep the peace, and they're there to protect you or to stop you doing harm to someone else, and that's it, you know. They're not there to enforce statutes and collect money for the Her Majesty's Treasury, which is how they're being used a lot of the time. And I explained all that to him, and he said, oh, you know, you're dead right, mate. He said, to be honest, I'm taking early retirement next year because I'm fed up of filling in paperwork and giving out tickets. He said, I joined the police force, you know, just to help fight crime and keep the peace and stuff, and I spend most of my time doing this crap. So he said, good on you. He said, I have to report you to the DVLA because it's part of my job, but, you know, good on you. And off he went, and we parted on really good terms, and it was a really good experience. So, you know, I found if you...
Yeah,
Go on.
We had a number like that. Actually, we had some good ones like that. In fact, the first time I got stopped over tax, it was a WPC, and I spoke to her for a couple of hours. But the interesting thing is, at the end of that, of course, she sent off my details to the DVLA, and eventually I got a requisition through, which is the same as a summons, really. And attached to that was the little form that she had to fill out, saying that she'd asked if I was the owner of the car and, if it was insured and all the rest of this stuff. And, beside the first of these questions, she had written, no reply, full stop. Said something about Gandhi's law, full stop. Well, I thought to myself, that's no problem because this is out and out perjury. How can I have made no reply and at the same time said something?
Yeah.
Good question.
So that was the first time. The second time was a little Hitler, but fortunately he called for backup as soon as I started being uncooperative with him, not giving my name and just quoting about Gandhi and so on. And fortunately, backup when it turned up in terms of two really, really nice young PCs who listened to all my story, nodded their heads and said, oh yeah, we agree with you pretty much. I think my colleague's going to give you a ticket, but yes, we agree with you. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, they're not all nasty bastards. There are some good people in there still, and I think commonly known as Dom does a lot of this. He sees his role as helping to educate the police force as well about the real nature of things, and that's what we all got to do. But if we do it in a nice way with peace and love in our heart, everything's good.
We certainly generally have a much better experience like that, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Litmus, how did you get into this Freeman stuff in the first place, and what did it mean to you when you actually came across it?
Yeah, I got into it about late 2008. It was. I'd left my job in the corporate world sort of 2004, and I'd gone traveling, and I ended up becoming a musician, which is what I'd always really wanted to do. And I'd lived on, doing my music and recording and bands and teaching and stuff like that for a few years. But during that time, I'd with a few mates, I'd been going on protest marches. I was a member of Stop the War, which actually should be called Start the Peace, not Stop the War. But anyway, I was a member of that and CND and all these things. And, we went on a few marches like the Free Palestine March and the big one in 2003 before the Iraq invasion, where there was probably 1 or 2 million on the streets in London, saying just don't do this, and they just carry on and ignore you, and however many are protesting, they just carry on and do it anyway, because all the people protesting are all paying tax, so they're getting the money to go and bomb people anyway, so they don't give a toss how many of you moan and whinge. That in fact they love protests. What I discovered was they love protests because protests add to the national debt. They cost a bloody lot of money to police and fund and everyone going up to London for a march, is buying food and buying rail tickets, and they're buying fuel, and there's tax on that, and there's VAT on everything, and they love protesting, and they can then claim that we live in a free country where you have a democratic voice and that you listen to and all this kind of thing. So
yeah, it legitimises the system, doesn't it?
That point about them raising money on it, you've only got to look at something like Dale Farm, where they evicted all the travellers from Dale Farm, and do you know now they're turning round and they're trying to charge these travellers with the cost of the eviction, for £4.5 or £6 million or something. Isn't that absolutely outrageous? First they take your house away, and then they charge you for the effort that they went to steal it off you.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. But they think they're above everything. They think they can do what they like. And as long as everyone keeps going on paying for things and then kind of protesting and feeling feeling good because they've had a protest, but carry on paying tax. Nothing's going to change, you know. So the only, if you stop giving them money, they soon sit up and take notice. That's what I found, you know, because the whole thing revolves on this fake artificial debt money, you know, that's created out of thin air and with interest. So yeah, I mean, you know, we went on marches and stuff, and we did we put on like free peace festivals in Ipswich. You know, I had a band at the time, and then we organised like at one of the local venues. You know, we got a load of bands together and we all played for free, and we got people in and we raised money and we gave it to stop the war and all of that stuff. But you know, years and years of that kind of thing, and nothing's ever changed, and it just got worse and worse. So you know, it came to 2008, and I started hearing about this Freeman stuff, and then I bumped into a mate of one of my sons he was living with at the time, and he said, "Oh, I've just been to a talk in Norwich about this Freeman stuff." He said, "You'd love this, just bang up your street, you know." And I said, "Oh, you know, I've been hearing about this, I'll check it out." And I just started Googling it, you know, and doing some research. Google, you know, I didn't believe it, to be honest, to start with. I thought maybe it's like an urban myth or something, you know, and can this really be true? But of course, the more you start digging, the more you realise how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I had a group of mates in Ipswich at the time. We set up a little gathering, and you know, every month or so we'd meet, and I'd go along and present what I'd found, the latest findings of research and stuff. And one of the guys there gave me a Black's Law dictionary, a guy called Ian Hunt. Thanks Ian, still got it. It's got post-it notes all over it now, and a highlighter pen, so you can't have it back. But I did buy him another one actually to replace it. But yeah, you know, 2 years later, having researched it all and found the bulk of it to be true. Not all of it, you know. There were some devious people putting things which weren't true online, like the capitis diminutio minima and all that stuff. That wasn't quite right. But you know, generally,
that's one that's always got me, because do you know? Oh no, the one that got me was this thing of register, because they split the word into regis, which they say stands for king. Well, that's fair enough. And then they had this or stratum or whatever, they tried to construe that as some kind of Latin word as well. But actually register is a Latin word that just means to write down. And this is a problem because they love to split all the language up and say, well, this part of the word means this and this part of the word means that and so on. In some circumstances, they're probably right. But it does lead people a long way astray, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, what I always do with words is look at the etymology, you know. So I did find that the etymology of register and registration suggested it went back to regis and a crown at the time when the king, you know, kept a record of all his entitlement that he claimed through war and through his family, you know, killing people. So I think there was an element of truth to that. But, you know, I mean, it doesn't kind of really matter too much, because you can get bogged down. What I found was you can get bogged down in all the detail, and then you lose the big picture, and then you end up distracted by all the detail.
Etymologically, I don't think it's right, but metaphorically, it's absolutely right. I mean, it's exactly what happens. Is basically they get you to write, to register things to them, and then they take control, and you've lost them. You know, so in practical terms, they're correct, but trying to prove it using entomology is not going to work, really, is it?
No, well, no. I mean, but it depends what sites you look at and what books you look at and what. Yeah, but you know, like you say, it doesn't really matter, because you say the main point is that this is what's going on. So they are kind of taking things off us. But you know, having researched it all, I kind of came to the conclusion that about 3/4 of it was, you know, checked out with with the law and with dictionaries and with stuff online, you know, from creditable sources. So anyway, you know, I got a domain name, projectfreeman.com, and I set up a website, and I started testing it out because I thought I'm not going to go and jump in with both feet on this and deregister everything without testing it properly first, you know. So that's what I did, and that's all on my website. You know, on phase 3 of my website is all the letters and documents I sent to Inland Revenue, you know, HMRC and for council tax, and DVLA for deregistering the car, and the 30 grand of so-called credit card debt that I discharged, and all the rest of it. And I tested it all, and it all worked. That's all I can say. It all worked. And for example, with the credit, I didn't even get any more demanding letters. I didn't get any bailiffs come round or anything. I only ever had one run-in with a bailiff, and that wasn't even for me. That was that was for someone else who was staying at my place at the time. So you know, it does work, but it doesn't work for everyone in all situations and in all circumstances. And you have to be careful. You have to not take things like templates offline and just expect to kind of use them regardless of your own circumstances, because everyone's circumstances are different, and not everyone can do everything to the same extent. You know, not everyone could do what I did, because I'd already by that time got rid of my mortgage, for example, so I didn't have that as an issue, and I owned my own houseboat, you know.
Well, one of the things you said earlier, Litmus, was that for you, freedom means responsibility. It means taking responsibility, which is pretty much what you're saying now with regards to the Freeman stuff, that you really need to do your research and take responsibility for your actions.
Totally right, Kaz. It's exactly right, because, I mean, like a lot of people doing this, I get a lot of emails through my website from people saying, oh, you know, I want to stop paying this, and, you know, can you tell me how I do it? And I said, well, yeah, you know, you've looked at my website. It's on my website. I don't need to tell you again how to do it. You just got to read it. You know, you got to sit down and read it. And you get sort of emails. Oh, can you send me? Have you got a template I can use for doing this? And how can I get out of doing it? And I say it's not about getting out of doing anything. It's not about getting away with something. It's all it is about claiming the rights that you have anyway, and the right to not kill your fellow man, for example. And yeah, it's totally about taking responsibility for your own actions. If you know that you're paying tax, and you know that tax is being used to buy bombs, which is killing people, you have to stop paying tax. You can't just say, oh, well, I have to pay tax because something says I have to. You know, that's not true. So, yeah, you do totally have to.
Yeah, but try to tell that to a government, brother. I became a free man on the land about the same time you did. And I want you to know I agree completely with you. Don't pay these fools taxes, you know, to wage wars. But when I sent my paperwork in the spring of 2009, of course, there was no reply. But about 3 months later, the Minister of Finance, he contacted me and told me that I had been misinformed. So I wrote him a letter back, and I asked him to show me where the Income Tax Act had been read as a prerequisite into law. I never heard another word from him, but they're still sending me bills, and I'll be damned if I'll give them any income tax to go kill people.
Good for you, brother. Yay. And that's what
the other thing is that you've done a great deal of study as well in order to do all of this, and this is something that we're all doing. Instead of making music and writing poems and all the other things we do, we've had our head buried in law books and Blackstones and all that kind of thing. Sad, isn't it?
We should have had our heads buried in common sense. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but I got to sign off and go for lunch. I'm going to miss my supper if I don't leave. But no, it was a great show, and I've had a great time with you guys today.
Rick, always fabulous to have you along. Absolutely brilliant.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much, honey, and we'll speak to you Sunday, if not sooner.
Oh, I expect I'll be there Sunday for sure. You'll probably hear from me before then.
Okay. Bye,
Fantastic.
love. Take care.
Okay,
Enjoy
goodbye,
your dinner.
folks.
Bye.
Thanks again, Rick.
And Paul, I think we've largely eaten up Dark City show with Litmus. Do you think we'd have time to talk him into doing another song? Because he did say no tax for war, and I know that he's got some good lyrics to go with that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Unfortunately, we've just lost Litmus. He's not connected at the moment, so hopefully we'll reconnect in a few moments. And I've got a few questions for Litmus, just to hear him speak there. My own position, he actually made that trigger in my head about having his own boat before he set off. I've got a little boat, as you know. So I've often thought about selling up, getting myself maybe a vehicle. I want to keep in the community. I love my community. I don't want to I feel like I'm abandoning it in a way. And I don't really want to do that, you know. So then Portugal. You know, he mentioned Portugal. When I was over in Malta, I'd kind of given everything up. I was kind of free from. Looking at Litmus's website, he has a little simple diagram, and on one side he's got a snake, and it leads down into the material world. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened in a sense. I was kind of not free from the burdens of the mortgage because I was still paying it, but I was in another country. The sun was shining. And you're always there. You've still got your own issues to deal with. But I kind of given up the material world, and now I'm back in it. But of course, without it, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You know, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. But I've often thought, could I live that life? And could I live that life? Saving it a few times. And Portugal. Was one of the places that popped up while I was actually in Malta looking for somewhere where I could actually be. It did pop up on more than one occasion.
And you mentioned Litmus's website there, just for people. It's projectfreeman.com.
Right.
It says .com on here too, so I think both probably work. He might
just .com definitely does work. Litmus, are you back with us? Maybe not. He has reconnected. Unmute the microphone, maybe. What's not? Anyway, Litmus has just rung back in, and we have reconnected. Hello, Litmus. Welcome back. The wonders of live radio and the internet.
Yeah, what happened? Was it my end or your end?
It was your end, Litmus, but no worries, man. We've got you back now, and that's all good. Our Robo Hippie can do some amazing things with the editing, and nobody will ever know, except for those who are listening live now, Litmus. We'll make you go. Don't worry, mate. I'll jump straight to my question if I can to you, Litmus. It sounds idyllic, you know, it does. It really does, man. Camper van, travelling around, busking, playing your stuff. You've put the work in. And to me, many people like yourself have already kind of laid a path to that. You know, I worry sometimes like we're like the free-range chickens, you know. I feel like I've gone down down the snake back into the material world for a period of time.
Yeah.
With my position. I mean, what do they call it? Positive equity. I could sell my house and have a profit now. I was going to get a little boat. You mentioned a boat. So I've got a small one. I was going to sort that out and sell my house, keep the address, and perhaps go and do a little bit of travelling. I love your website. I haven't gone through into it. I just looked down at your little diagram. And I think the works of genius are normally either on an A4 piece of paper or on the back of a cigarette packet. Or actually, recently I have seen some really extraordinary things written on the back of a packet of Risley cigarettes papers. So I think that is brilliant, man. The work of genius. Your little diagram, it really does.
Thank you very much. You mean the Journey Home's like a game of snakes and ladders diagram?
I certainly do. Yes.
Well, thanks for checking it out. Yeah, there's a lot of buried in the website, and especially in Phase 3, is a lot of documents and law details and all the rest of it. But let's pick up a couple of those points, because there's your point there about kind of getting on the road and stuff, and let's talk about that in a minute. But I think where we got to before I got chopped off by the devils, the demons, was we were talking about studying the law. I think Plasma was saying, we, instead of being creative and making poetry and being right brain and being creative and all that good energy stuff, putting that into the void, which is definitely what we should all be doing. A lot of us are spending a lot of time in law books and in the left brain doing all of that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really good point. And that's where I got to after 2 years of doing this stuff. I realized that the free man stuff had become as much a distraction from my true calling and from my path to enlightenment and my spiritual journey and all the rest of it as anything else, and I was getting bogged down in how many definitions of acceptance do I need to understand, and for me, all we all need to do is just do a little bit of study, just do enough left brain stuff, just to appreciate how this system works, the system that we've all been enslaved to, just to understand how it operates and how we can get out of it. And that's why part 1 of my website's called The Time to See. It's the time to see what's going on. It's the time to see that you're a slave and that you're working just to pay tax and to keep the whole machine going, instead of doing what you're here to do, what your calling is. And that's where I got to. So I did enough. I learned enough to get myself as free as I possibly could. And after that, I've still got the Black's Law Dictionary in the cupboard in the van here in case I need it. But I haven't really done any more detail. And I gotta say, I really, really do admire people like Michael the Benicia. The amount of detail and work that guy has done is just phenomenal, and how the hell he keeps going and finds the time to do it is amazing. But for me, I just had to do enough to get free, and then I got into part 2, which was what I call time to be. Once you get your body free of working for the system, then you got time to just get into nature and kind of meditate and get on the beach and hug a tree and all that stuff, and kind of reconnect with your true self. And once you do that, you start opening your mind up to the universe, and it's amazing what they send you then. It's amazing what messages you get. And some of that I've put into part 2. I'm starting to put into part 2 of my website. And then part 3 is the kind of the real interesting stuff about alchemy and ascension and the oneness of everything and all that kind of thing. And that's all coming as well. But so it's gone from a very left brain sort of legal, technical kind of thing to a very right brain spiritual, creative thing. And I think it's really important. I would recommend, mate, that you do cash in your equity and get a boat and bugger off and do what makes your heart sing. Do what lights your life up, because
that's the weird thing, Litmus. It really is a weird thing. You see, I have descended. I'm following your little diagram, right? This, like I say, a map of life. I've descended now into the material world. And this is projectfreeman.com. I don't know if .co.uk works. There was some discrepancy whether it would or it wouldn't. But .com.
No,
works.
it's .com. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if .com definitely does work. And I'm down like in the material world. I've been free from it. I really have, man. On more than one occasion, I've actually been an auditory. You know, I really have. And I've had some amazing conversation with rocks. You know, I really have, man. I've been out there, both with and without external assistance. So yeah, it's like almost now I am doing what I was destined to do, if you see what I mean. This is it. It's really weird. You might not know, but only a couple of months ago, 3 of us sat in a room and went, let's have a go. Can we do it? And you know, we haven't done it. We keep saying we've done free radio, and we always come up against summer. There's always summer. There's always. Well, I don't know if anybody noticed, but nobody's paid for anything. Nobody's paid for absolutely anything at all so far on Darkcity Radio. And the weird thing is, Litmus, right, that the few bitcoins we had in our treasury, right, are now worth £1,000. So the radio station's now worth more than it was when we started, and nobody's paid for anything.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's weird, isn't it, man? We don't need to try and do it. We've done it. I think I've done it. I'm with you, though. I do want to get rid of this big house. I've got a lot of memories in it, man. All my family came up here and it's helped out loads of people. And it's been like a refuge for years, you know, for loads of people. So it's been a real good thing to have. But yeah, it's about me now. It's about me and like you say, you know, freeing the spirit. You know, freeing the spirit. Because I had to get back where I was, in a sense, to see what I'm running away from. You know, what am I fearful of?
Exactly. I mean, you know, we all, everyone's calling is, you can check out one of my songs. It's called Your Call, you know.
Oh, I love that, man. Yeah, if you can do more songs, that would be great. That was brilliant, the last tune. Excuse me, I interrupted you, but I failed to mention, man, I really did appreciate your tune.
No, that's cool. I'll play some more after, but, you know, the Your Call song it's about, you know, finding out what your calling is, and then doing it, you know, and I think we have to have a balance between being selfish and sharing with, you know, and doing things for others, because you know, if you find out what your calling is and you do it, then you're doing the best you can do for yourself and the universe. There's a great Billy Joel line, one of his songs called James, I think, and it says, do what's good for you or you're no good for anybody, you know. But we're kind of brought up in this culture where being selfish is seen as a really bad thing, you know, and the way that selfishness is portrayed, it often is. But actually being selfish about sticking to your journey and your path and trying to ignore all the distractions along the way, that is the best thing you can do. As long as you then spend some time sharing what you've learned with other people, I think that's fine, and that's where I get the balance. So I don't feel bad at all that I've you know, buggered off in my camper van, swanning around Europe, as some people call it, but because I'm still doing my thing. I'm still spreading the word and the info. I spent like 4 hours in an internet cafe up the road here today, you know, putting stuff online, and you know, and so you can do it in lots of different ways, and you know, we don't all have to stay in Britain in the cold all winter, guys.
Paul was talking about the fact that his house was a refuge, and I was very much in the same situation. We had a huge house down in Hampshire, and but when I got into all this, well, first I got into protests before I got into any of the freedom stuff. I was protesting anti-nuclear weapons and all that kind of thing, and I knew the only way that I could be effective was if I had nothing to lose. When you've got nothing to lose, you can do anything. And so first of all, I made sure that I gave away all the things that they could grab hold of and say, if you don't do what you're told, we're going to take this away from you. So I faced all of that, gave everything away, gave my house to my sons and said, if you want all the problems and mortgage and that kind of thing, you're welcome to it. I'm off. And that's the way I did it.
Yeah. Exactly what I did. That's what I did, and then you just wrote loads of debts on the property. I had to come back and sort it out, Pradsner. So yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but I think in my case it is definitely, as you mentioned before, about me taking that responsibility and putting forth those actions in my life. It really is.
Yeah, it's about.
So my question really is, where's the nearest airport, and how cheap are camper vans over there, man?
All right, well, the nearest. The nearest airport is Faro, which is about 100 kilometers from where I'm sitting right now, and you can probably get a Ryanair flight for about 30 quid, and I mean you can pick up camper vans anywhere and everywhere. I mean, you could, but I tell you, the best thing to do is buy a camper van in Britain, send a notice off to the DVLA to deregister it, and then drive it onto a ferry and leave and never take it back. And no worries, mate. Best thing you can do.
Well, if anybody wants to buy a 23-foot power cruiser, he's going cheap. I'll trade it for a camper van and some fuel. How about that? 1972, lovely condition, fully restored. About £200 or £300, and it'll put it on. Live aboard. You could live aboard it. So there you go.
Well, you don't have. It don't have to be a camper van. You could always sail around the coast down the Bay of Biscay.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't. No. I've actually rigged it now for inshore water. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
Okay. But of course, what we've found since we all started looking at all this law stuff and that is that the solution to all of this is the trust, isn't it? So if you set up a private trust, take everything out of the public, and put it in trust for the beneficiaries, then it keeps the Crown's hands off everything. So that if you do have anything you want to keep, do that. But like Praj, I found that offloading as much stuff as possible was the best thing to do. So I used to have a big 4 or 5 bedroom detached house and a double garage and all of this kind of stuff, and then I went, I got rid of that and went down to a little rented place, and then I got rid of that and went into a houseboat, and now I live in a camper van. So, and I gotta say, the most stress free and fun of all is the camper van. So I'd recommend it to anyone.
I've got to agree, man. I did convert an ambulance some time back. I lived in that, and a great time. I had a great time. I didn't get over to Europe. I had to rough it out. Living in a little disused jetty right at the edge of the sea on Cardigan Bay. It was hard living on sea bass and fresh lobster.
Oh, terrible.
It was a tough life, man. It was a tough. Yeah. I mean, I never left the island for 6 months while I did up the boat. It was tough. It was a tough life that I could return to in a mere blink of an eye, to tell you the truth. But I have got that thing about the responsibility. I really do. I think that's part of it. I want to make sure I'm dealing with these things. Many people seem to run away from it. I get that you haven't, man, that you've got to put things into a process. Like I say, I feel like I have been away from it, and because I haven't gone through a process, I haven't released myself from it, So I was slimming right down. I can get everything in a garage now, and and then suddenly I've got this space again. It starts filling up. I think I have to downsize. I'm definitely going to have to downsize, but otherwise it will fill up with stuff again. It just keeps filling up.
Exactly, and that's why a camper van's great. I mean, I've spent the last 9 months traveling with my lovely kindred spirit Danny around Europe, and then, we've had two of us in a VW T25, like. But you don't live in the van. You live in the world. You live in nature. You live on the beach. You live by the river. You live in the forest. You sleep in the van and you cook in it, and the door's always open unless it's raining, and and you get so much fresh air and sunshine and stuff. It's really good for the soul, and it just makes everything else better. So I'd encourage everyone to kind of send all the papers off and get out of the system as much as you can. Stop feeding the machine. Stop paying your taxes, and and get yourself free, and actually live. Live a life. Instead of doing all that.
I think everyone who can should get out on the road. I really, really do. And we're loving our caravan to bits. It's just so nice to be in a place this size, that's easy to manage, that doesn't have all these bills hanging over the top of it, and it's fabulous. And also, it's a good act of rebellion. Before Maggie Thatcher took them all off the road, the traveller culture was building up beautifully in this country, and now it's all been wiped out and gone largely over to Europe, and it's time to start it again, I believe.
Well, I think it is beginning to resurface a little bit. A lot more people are getting in their vans and their caravans and getting out there.
Yeah, I hope so. And I guess at some point we do need to reclaim our island, from the Saxe-Coburg Gothers, who've inherited it from the Normans and the Anglo-Saxons before them. But I'm sure that'll come. We're heading back towards a golden age now in the cycle of the Great Year. So everything's going to get better, as more people wake up and become enlightened and stuff. But at the moment, if you do get on a ferry and you get into Europe, into the Schengen zone, check that out. It's a free travel zone. You can drive for 12,000 kilometers without showing any paperwork at any borders or any ID or anything, and that's why there's more people in Europe traveling, because it's so much freer and easier, and you don't get hassled like you do. I mean, the only time I have any stress with that kind of thing is when I come on a flight back into Stansted or somewhere, and you get UK border, signs like the bloody Gestapo sitting there waiting to check all the sheep back into the pen, and other than that, you're so out of it, you forget that all that kind of shit exists, to be honest. And I think that's why
next time you're heading out, Litmus, make sure, because over here now apparently they're handing out scratch cards for cannabis.
Scratch
and sniff cards, so that people know what cannabis farms smell like. Well, if you can get your hands on some of those, I think anybody travelling abroad should make sure they got one of those in their back pocket.
Nice. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. They, I did hear at one point they were proposing to bring in some new statute to say that anyone getting on a ferry at Dover or wherever would could be stopped and interrogated about any outstanding parking tickets and stuff like that. So I can't imagine that ever happening, but that was something I meant.
Yeah, that's a new one. They're trying to wangle. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous, Yeah.
Well, I think because this freedom movement, for want of a better word, is taken off all around the world. The powers that be are doing their best to clamp down and seal up the borders and claim as many taxes as they possibly can, and keep everybody in a state of fear of stepping outside of the state, the nation state. That's the kind of backlash. I think it's important as well to remember that when you do step out of the nation state as such, out of the system, then there's always a possibility that you'll find yourself confronting the bastions of that system. I know me and Prashna have on several occasions now, And a lot of people come to the Freeman movement and they're looking for a kind of a magic wand, if you like, to wave around. And that's really not the case, because we do come against the bastions of the system who want to impose their chosen way of life on the rest of us. And we have to be prepared for that as well, hence the reading of all the law books and such. What do you reckon, Litmus?
Yeah, totally, Kaz. You got a great way of summing things up really well, I gotta say. You should do more talking, I think. You should go and give presentations or something.
Oh, shut up and skin up then.
Shut up and skin up. Yeah, okay. But no, that's true, you know, and there is no magic wand. Basically, you know, a dear friend of mine, Maggie, one of her little catchphrases was, you know, some effort required. And that's when I've kind of nicked off her, and I use a lot, because, you know, you got to take responsibility for your own life. And if you want to get free, all right, you didn't know you were registered into the system, and your parents didn't know when they did it. But, you know, if you become aware of that, I think becoming aware of things and ignoring them and doing nothing about it and hoping it'll all go away, that's way worse than not even knowing anything about it, you know? I mean, they say ignorance is bliss and all that, but I think people who become aware of things and still do nothing about it, they're the ones who really got to look at themselves, I think, because I don't know how you can do that, really. It's one thing to be...
One of the things that we found is, and as you were saying before, your first encounter with the police having stopped paying tax was a really friendly conversation with a very amenable cop. And what myself and Prajna have found is that when we have these interactions with the authorities, as long as we're coming from a place of love and peace and respect for the common humanity that we share with these individuals, then we can have the conversations about freedom, about what freedom means, and about the nation state and the system and the ways in which it enslaves. So every encounter and every interaction is really an opportunity to plant seeds in the minds of the authorities.
I regard all of these interactions with authorities as a form of tax that I don't mind paying. You know, I ain't going to pay them. I ain't going to pay them a penny in any kind of currency, because they'll just go and abuse it and spend it on something that I don't approve of. But putting my energy into sitting down and educating them, I'm happy to do that all day long, and I'll even put other things aside to do it. That's my feeling.
Quite right, Praj, and I couldn't agree more. And I mean, you know, I'm not back in the UK studying the books anymore, but that's what I'm doing. I'm having encounters, and I'm trying to share them with people and enlighten them as to how you can deal with things. I did have a run-in when I was back in Britain last summer. It was actually. I had a run-in. I was down in Bridgend in South Wales. I was, boy, oh, see, buddy, lovely, innit?
Busking.
I was busking down in Wales. I was, and in one of my former hometowns, Bridgend, and you know, this wasn't quite such an amiable encounter with the police. But I was meeting my dad for lunch down in Bridgend, so I got a train down there from Barry, and I took my guitar and I thought I'll do a bit of busking, you know, before lunch, and see, you know, entertain a few people and see if I get a few bob. And I got this really good spot on the way into town near the bus station. Lots of people milling around. Started playing. It was great, you know. Within the 2 minutes, people sticking money in my hat, and the old ladies in the Oxfam shop next door were dancing around, you know. And it was great, you know. I was playing some Beatles and some Simon and Garfunkel, I don't know, whatever it was, and, you know, just doing my thing. and everything was going great. And then, and in my peripheral vision, I saw two PCSOs, two girls, walking along, and I made the mistake. And here's a tip for you guys: never make eye contact.
Especially with female PCSOs.
It's always the bloody females that get me, man. Never make eye contact. So I thought, you know, these two, they were quite attractive. So I'm singing away. It's rock and roll, isn't it? So hey, there's a couple of birds coming along. So, you know, give them a nice smile. And so of course they came straight over. And oh, you can't play here. What are you doing? You can't play in the street. And I said, oh, what do you mean? Why I'm just spreading peace and love through my music. I said, what harm am I doing? She said, oh, well, you're not allowed to play in the street in Bridgend, she said. I said, oh, well, that's weird, because I said, I've seen notices up saying that you can't drink in the street in Bridgend, but I haven't seen any notices saying you can't play a guitar in the street. So, you know, unless you can tell me under what law that I'm not allowed to play guitar in the street, you know, I'll carry on playing. And how about I sing you a song, I said to her. You know, what's your favourite song? I'll sing you a tune. So she said, oh, don't be funny now. And I said, so I'm not being funny, you know, I will play you a song, you know. Oh, well, you know, I'm going to have to ask for your details, she said to me. I said, well, why? You know, and she said, well, you know, we've stopped you and we've told you you can't play here and you're being obstructive, she said. I said, I'm not being obstructive, I just want to play you a song, you know. Everyone's enjoying the music, what's the problem? So she said, oh, look, what's your name? I said, it's Freeman. And she said, right, what's your first name? I said, Freeman. She said, what's your surname? I said, Freeman. She said, what, it's Freeman, is it? I said, no, my name is Freeman. And that's all I'm going to tell you, you know. Come on, I'll play you a song. Right, I'm going to have to call for backup, she said. So she got on the radio and called into the station, you know. Meantime, the other one says, whose name was Rachel, I think, says, oh, I'm really sorry about this. I think your music's lovely, she said to me. She said, you can come and play in my street if you want. And but the other one's telling me you can't play in the town centre. So I said, oh, well, I'm going to carry on. Let's see what happens. So I carried on playing. And then this van turned up and three coppers got out of it. And the constable come over to me with his two sidekicks. And he said, oh, look, my colleagues told you can't play here, mate. You'll have to move on. And I said, well, you know, why can't I play here? I haven't seen any notice saying I can't play. And I said, have you had a complaint from anyone? He said, no, we haven't had a complaint, you know, but as my colleagues pointed out, there's a law here saying you're not allowed to play in the street. And I said, well, can you tell me what law it is? And he said, well, I can't tell you offhand, but I know there's a law and you'll have to stop. And I said, well, you know, who's published this law? Where is it written? Where can I need to know what law it is or I'm going to carry on. And he said, oh, it's something the council brought in. I said, right, I'll go round to the council offices and I'll ask him. So I went round to the council, round the corner, and went in and I said, can I speak to someone in licensing department? Apparently I need to have a license to play in the street, or I'm not allowed to play. And she said, they're all at lunch, you'll have to look on the website. So I couldn't find anything from the council saying I couldn't play, so I went back to the street a bit further up and I carried on playing, and the coppers went past 2 or 3 times in the van and they didn't hassle me anymore, right? So, but I thought, right, I'm not going to let this drop. So the next day I rang this copper up because, by the way, I missed a bit. Before I left the scene, I didn't give them any details, and I took, obviously, as normal, I took all their names and badge numbers and everything, so I knew who I'd been talking to. So I rang this copper that had told, you know, the guy who turned up in the van, and I said, you know, have you found this law? I said, look, I went to the council, there's nothing. I rang the council in the morning. I spoke to the woman in licensing. She said that you don't need a license to play in the street. It's nothing to do with us. So I said to this copper, well, who is it then? Is it the council? He said, actually, no, I do apologise. He said, it's actually the police have brought this in, not the council. I was in error there. He said, but we're enforcing the Peddlers Act of 1871, right?
Wow.
So they dug up this old...
For an earlier one than that.
Yeah?
1840 Trespassing on the Railways Act.
Okay, right. Yeah, well, I mean, we use the Bills of Exchange Act 1872 and things like that, so, it's okay. They're still in force. But,
yeah.
But the point is, it works both ways, but the point is, he said it's the Peddlers Act 1871, right? So I went on the .gov.uk legislation, website, and I got the copy of the Peddlers Act 1871, and it said, this is current legislation, still in force, unamended. So I read it, and I got a copy of it, and there's nothing in there about musicians at all. And it defines peddlers as people coming into town and trading goods. So they're like gypsies who got pegs or whatever, and they're asking people for money, So they're acting in commerce. So there we are, they're acting in commerce. So they have to have a license to act in commerce. And if they make any revenue, they've got to pay tax on it because the Crown have claimed dominion over the territory, So I said to this copper, I said, look, I've got a copy of this Peddlers Act. It doesn't say anything about musicians. He said, yes, it does. In my version, it does, he said. And I said, well, you better post me a copy of your version then, because there's obviously a problem here. So about 2 weeks later, this thing eventually turned up, right? And I'm not joking. I got a copy of it here in the van. All it was is some A4 paper, and they typed it up themselves and headed it Peddlers Act 1871, and they copied all the words and they changed the bloody words, and they put in there, including musicians and stuff. And I couldn't believe it. I rang this guy back. I said, can you please explain to me how South Wales Constabulary, Bridgend Police Station, have managed to amend an Act of Parliament without due process of law? Can you explain that to me? Because your version is different to the one that's published online. And he couldn't answer that. And I said, if I took this further, you'd probably find yourself in a lot of trouble for amending legislation.
Public office, Litmus.
Yeah, well, it's one of these things I've had on the back burner. I'm going to pick up again at some point, probably when I come back to Britain next, because that's when it'll be a lot easier to do it. But I'm going to follow it up. But basically, this. I mean, how the hell they think they can get away with anything? They've amended bloody legislation and they're trying to enforce it. It's just ridiculous. If any of us tried to do that, we'd be up in court in 2 minutes.
Of course we would. We'd be
so I said to him,
also.
Yeah, I said to him, look, this is obviously complete rubbish. And I said, next time I come back to the Gen, I will be playing in the street again, because there is no legislation that says I can't. And if you disagree, you'll have to arrest me, and then we'll see what happens. But it's ridiculous. Of course, you can play in the street.
I mean, it's scary that you've got police around there, even if it is only Bridgend in North Wales and nowhere else. You've got police out there and PCSOs going out and inventing laws just in order to enforce them.
It's not just in Bridgend, it's all over the country. I've seen it so many times.
That's the point.
No, I'm sure, yeah, that's right.
If it was just in that one place, but it's not.
And last 3 years I've been on the road busking and stuff, and that is the only time I've had any hassle, right? Ironically, back in one of my hometowns, South Wales actually, Kaz, but yeah. The only other time I had any problem was in Catalonia, in a town called Olot. I did a lot of busking there, and I did very well the first 2 times, and then the third time I played there, I went to the market, and I tried to play in the market, and guess what happened again? It was a nice looking Catalonian lady policewoman, standing the other side of the road, and I caught her eye, and she came straight over, and she said, no, you know, you can't play. And to cut a long story short, you know, a big burly sergeant came up, and he picked up my bag and chucked it over the fence. And basically they were trying to say that because I was playing in a market where the traders had paid to be there, you know, and I was there for free, I wasn't allowed to ask for money. And I said, well, I'm not asking for money. Luckily I had a friend of mine there who was interpreting for me, because I don't speak Catalan. But basically they were saying, you know, you can't play in the market. They'd seen me playing in town a couple of times, and they'd all pass by without hassling me. But as soon as I went in the market and did it, they jumped on me, and they basically said, if you don't shoot off, we're going to start asking for papers and going to come and ask you where your van's parked and all this kind of thing. So
because they weren't getting the cut on that.
Exactly, they're not getting their cut on my like €5 I had at the time, like in my guitar case from you know the music loving public like there. But I made about €90 the other 2 times, so it's fine. You know, I can live on that. Yeah. And sometimes you got to just say, well, you know, I've done well here. Why have the hassle? Just move on. You know, it's the universe saying time to hit the road again. So
often. Yeah. Oh, it feels like time for another song. Well, it's 1/2 the hour. So, will you play us another song, please, Litmus?
Yeah, okay. I mean, we were talking about our callings earlier, so I could play your call unless you got another request.
Well,
whatever you like. It's just that you dropped No Tax for War into the conversation earlier. I know that's easy to do.
No, there'll be time for No Tax for War before we close the show, but your calling will be fantastic. Thank you, love.
Okay. That's given to you, and that is the thing that comes natural to you, and that is the thing that you came here to do. So don't waste your time on things that aren't real, 'cause all those other things soon lose their appeal, and all those pretty things won't have the same feel, 'cause this is your call. Can you hear it? This is your call, and it won't go away. Don't repeat yesterday. So wake from your sleep and live what you dream. Then are the ones who can say, this is me.
Ah, lovely. Have you got that up on SoundCloud yet, Litmus?
Yeah, that's on there. If you go to projectfreeman.com and then click on music, and then scroll down a little bit, you'll see a table of songs there and your calls there, and it'll take you to the page, and the SoundCloud's embedded in there, so you can listen online. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was beautiful, Litmus. Really enjoyed it. But I forgot to think of anything to ask while you were singing.
Are you doing any festivals this season? Have you got any plans at all, or you're just going wherever you're called?
Yeah, I'm not planning to do any festivals this summer because I got a bit sick of it, to be honest. The only last summer Venus Love Festival was great. It was a really, really lovely little festival, and I definitely do something like that again. But even the Sunrise, it's too big, too many people, too much hassle, too much mud, and just
Sunrise. Sunrise, we at least had Avalon Rising, and we had our own little section of the festival to ourselves, really, didn't we? It was rather special from us because we met you.
Well, and likewise, I mean, I'm really, really glad I came to Sunrise last year, even though because I was flying off from there on the Monday, and I had you might remember, I had no wellies or anything, it was just the mud was and thank you so much, guys, for saving me and giving me refuge in your little home. It's so sad that you lost that. We were delighted to. Just to sit there and share songs and listen to your poetry and see you two cuddled up in bed, it was wonderful.
We're cuddled up in bed right now, practically almost.
It's our John and Yoko thingy.
Yeah, great. Keep the John and Yoko vibe going, guys. Awesome. Yeah, and I think at the time I just met Danny as well, and I was looking forward to getting back to see her as well. So
you were, a bit heartbroken to be away from her.
Yeah, you were a bit stretched.
Yeah, and we've had a great 9 months on the road all over Europe together. So she's back in Germany now, getting a van of her own. So it's going to be sweet. We're going to have a van each soon.
Convoy.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We'll be in. We'll come.
Yeah, we'll bring everyone down, But anyway, yeah, it was obviously wonderful meeting you guys there. But in terms of the kind of audience and some of the vibe that was going around from the organisers and the scale of the thing, yeah, I thought, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do smaller things if I'm asked to. And what I really want to do. This summer coming, I'll be back in Britain anyway, and I just want to say to people, if you're interested in any of this Freeman stuff or want to know more about what it's about, and you want to hear some music about it and stuff, what I want to do is do a little tour around, just talking to small groups, in little communities and stuff like that, and staying over. I've set up my my Troubadour Trust now, under the UCT, so
we were going to ask about that.
Yeah.
We managed to get our car without getting it registered through a little bit of deviousness. The stuff we bought it off. He said, I've sold it to trade on the back of it, and so no paperwork's going off. He's not going to get into trouble over it, and we haven't even had to put it into trust or anything like that. So hopefully we've managed to wheedle our way out of all that bureaucracy.
Brilliant.
The plan was that if we had to register it, we were going to register to the Troubadour Trust. So
as soon as we can get Carly to pronounce it properly.
The Troubadour Trust. Yeah.
but the cops will do this standing up in court as well, won't they? Troubadour.
Yeah, well, I mean, you won't really have to register it, of course, to the trust. But if you want to join the trust, of course, you're more than welcome. But you know what? And again, if you go to projectfreeman.com, there's a link there right on the top of the page to the Troubadour Community Trust, so you can check it out. It's just one page at the moment, but basically what it's all about is, you know, anyone in the trust. It's basically a transient. It's a community of transient travellers, you know, artists, basically, poets, musicians, bards. You'll see it on there. But basically what I'm sort of offering is, you know, I'll come along to your place, wherever it is, and I'll play you some tunes and talk to you and stuff, and you just give me somewhere to plug in and charge up my van and some water and some food and maybe a bit of fuel for the onward journey, and no commerce need to take place, and no fiat currency need to exchange hands, you know.
Exactly. That's where we want to live to. Yeah. I noticed in Skype there's a lot of chatter at the moment about this Operation Hawk. Operation Hawk, they've just made 382 arrests, and at 34 cannabis farms have been closed down in London.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
9:15 p.m.
The irony of all this is the police are bragging about it on Twitter, and a lot of they're not getting a very positive feedback. Things like kaboom, one of the cannabis farms shut down was mine. Ha ha. Only one of many. Complete waste of public funds. Where did the police get off removing people's medication? Why aren't you targeting pedos? Oh my God! Oh my God! They've hit another one of my grows. I mean, I don't know if some of these comments are being serious, but you know, basically people are they're not getting a good response anyway from their own Twitter feed at the moment.
No, of course they're not. And like that one says, I mean, how many arrests have been made in this whole, what's it called, this inquiry, the Jimmy Savile thing? You know, they done this whitewash.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. Yeah, so it just seems a little bit weird that all this happens, you know, the so-called coincidences that occur in our lives. I know I've seen far too many for them to be coincidental recently. That's for sure. So, yeah, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff there. But we spoke today, I mean, over 250,000, 250,000, 600 watt sodium ballast over 2 years. And now we're talking, that's in a small area. So, you know, we're talking London, we could easily probably double that amount. So we could say, I suppose, that the police have been successful in their massive operation, which is, 500 and something warrants they've carried out today. They've managed to chip about 10, maybe 15% of the production of cannabis, inflating the price now on the street and making this more valuable and more risky for anybody that is just wanting to grow a small amount for themselves. So I would think that I think they've been fully successful in what they want to actually do. Inflate the price on the street, cause more conflict over it, and start to militarise yet again.
Yeah, all of that, and of course they're probably not getting as much revenue from parking tickets and stuff now, so they got to nab some drugs so that they can sell them themselves and get the revenue up a bit.
I'm not going to blame the Freeman man and that movement, right, for pushing the price of weed up. That's not fair.
No.
But you know, if it weren't for the Freeman movement, you know, and people like yourself, we'd all be still paying parking tickets, and they wouldn't have to keep hitting on them poor drug people who you know.
Well, an interesting twist there, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is about tobacco and stuff, man. I mean, once a gentleman was getting quite upset because I was smoking tobacco at a place. I was outside, and they've got all this about smoking and not smoking. And I pointed out to him that if they made tobacco completely illegal, and I wasn't allowed to have it, then I wouldn't have it, and then he'd have to pay all the tax as a non-smoker. His ideology changed really quick. I'm paying tax on this. Do you think the government's going to kind of not have the tax? They'll just put it on somewhere else.
Oh yeah, don't start me on the tobacco, and it's so ridiculous. I mean, do you remember when pubs used to have things called smoke rooms?
Yeah.
And do you remember when there used to be a lounge and a bar?
I do, yes.
And you didn't smoke in the lounge because people ate in there, and you went and smoked in the bar. I mean, what is the problem? If you want to smoke, it's very easy to have a smoking room and a non-smoking room. So all this thing about smoking outside, complete bollocks.
Well, you need to be told everything, Litmus, you see. You need to have somebody come on in the morning and say, it's going to be sunny today, don't forget your sun cream. And you need somebody else to come along and tell you which sun cream to use, which is the best one because it's got a higher factor of LOBG97 manufactured, for your perfection. And then you've got to have the right costume to go out into the sun because you don't want to be wearing the wrong colour this season, do you? I mean, flipping heck. So yeah, I mean, they need to be told absolutely everything.
Oh, I know, and you picked another, You picked another pet topic of mine, actually, with the sun cream, because I found there's a correlation, actually, between sales of sun cream and incidence of skin cancer, would you believe? Probably not a surprise, because, what's going to be more harm to you? The natural rays of our Lord, the sun, who keeps us all alive, or some chemical shit made in a factory, what's going to do you more harm? I mean, if you get...
And now they've got nanoparticles in sun cream, yeah? And they're putting nanoparticles in all these cosmetics. They've never tested them on anything, anywhere.
Well, but they're good for you. I mean, of course you want to rub nanoparticles in your face to protect you from the sun. What's up with you, Brasner? Do you know what I mean? They could be great, haven't they, you know what I mean?
I remember this particularly in Australia, when I lived in Australia for a year. Obviously, they were absolutely paranoid about sun cream and that there. It was but absolutely crazy, because anyone who travels or spends any time outdoors will tell you that if you lie in the sun for 5 minutes the first day, 10 minutes the next day, 15 minutes the next day, and gradually build up your natural pigment, you can go. I can lay in the sun at midday in southern Portugal, and my skin does not burn, and I haven't got skin cancer because I have a natural pigment which protects me. And if you slap sun cream all over your skin, your body doesn't get a chance to make its natural pigment to protect you. So of course you got to keep putting sun cream on. So you got to keep buying product, and you got to keep feeding the pharmaceutical industry. So there we are. That's another.
I could rant about that for hours and hours, actually. But I see that Susan would like to get a word in. Susan, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I am here. Confirmation that you received my question, please, Paul. Thank you very much. If you would care to look at the control, you have a message to Rupert. Thank you. Over. End of message. Great show, guys. Enjoying listening. Thank you from Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, love.
So where did we get to? Sun cream? No, we got off that subject.
No, because there was one thing I wanted to add to that, if I may, and that is I've not actually looked into this, but just going by memory and the way the news feeds have come through over the years, it strikes me that reports of skin cancer, particularly coming from Australia, going back, I guess, a decade and a half or so, have increased as the use of sunblocks have increased also.
Certainly.
So, yeah, there's bound to be a correlation there.
Yeah.
And we know that the chemicals in these sunblocks do cause cancer. They are carcinogens, so...
And I'm serious about these nanoparticles. Do look up nanoparticles, because as soon as you reduce an element down below a particular size, it behaves completely differently. That, people because nanoparticles are something new, people don't know anything about them, and they don't know quite what the problem that they will become. So it's going to be our next GMO, and people need to start being aware of them, because they're sneaking them into all kinds of products now without telling anyone.
Yeah, I think you could get a book as well and have a look at that, and you could really research it, nanoparticles. Because alternatively, you could do what I've just done, and you can actually get a flight to Fargo for £47, return for 28 days, leaving Manchester. Ooh, I'm tempted. But I have a bit of a message.
Come and join us, man. I'll pick you up at the airport.
I might just do that, man. If my medicine runs out, I'm either going there or Spain or where was the other one? Oh, Uruguay sounds all right. I want to find somewhere where I can go and I'm not persecuted for actually having a life free of pain and being able to be useful of some description, So yeah, that's my little bit of a personal mission that I'm on, which everybody knows about now because I've been dead public. But what I wanted to get in is we got Rupert, their flagship radio, and they're going to start. His show starts in about 10 minutes. So Rupert's quite happy if we all want to dive in on that, so this can continue. I don't know what might happen there. I just thought I'd give you the heads up.
As long as Litmus's batteries hold out, we're fine.
This is the thing about Darkcity. I mean, we never make any rash claims of the numbers that we get. We don't have a great deal of people connecting to the stream. But trust me, don't trust me. Go and check it, please. Other people are connecting into that stream, and it is already going out far more than we're aware of, far more than we're aware of. So that's actually live now, and the feedback shows that as well. So, yeah, I've got to go with Litmus actually at the moment where I am. But for me, I've descended down Litmus's ladder. I'm going to call it Litmus's ladder now. No, it's not the ladder. It's the serpent. Litmus's serpent. Back into the material world. That's where I am. I'm going to gather. And compress. I think might be a nice word. Downsize. And I can recognise that I am actually living in the dark, in the land of the slave, because that's where we built our city.
We built our city.
Yeah, man. The Dark City, that's what it is. We are all slaves. We're aware of that. We are. And that's who we are. That's the lives we've lived, and that slavery has given everything we know. I want to be a free-range chicken, me, Litmus. But I worry sometimes, because I've been out there, lived as the free-range chicken. And mate, I think they use us to encourage other people to carry on living as slaves, and someday they'll be out there playing free. But at the end of the day,
I think you've got to do what you want to do is what you've got to do.
At the end of the day, as we approach the end of our Dark City show this evening, ideology of actually going out there and living your life in your way that makes you feel comfortable, you feel right with, that's the thing. That has got to be the thing. I mean, we can't all go and live in a camper van. We could do in Portugal. The world might tip over one way or something, but you get my point. We can't all do the same thing. We are a diverse
exactly right.
So we must find that what we truly love to do. We truly, what buzzes each one of us up. And I'll go furthermore. I think that's our only responsibility. Our only responsibility here is to do that.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. That's what the Your Call thing's all about. Is just finding what your particular path and journey is, and selfishly sticking to that and trying not to get distracted by all the snakes along the way. And it's different for everyone. And I wouldn't want everyone to get in a camper van and come down here because the beaches would be packed. But it's not.
I'm rather keen on this idea of a convoy. I really do like this idea. Because that's what a movement is, isn't it?
Yeah, convoy's good, but he's absolutely right that it's different for everyone, and it changes at different times through your life as well. So the only absolutely right, mate. Couldn't agree more. The only thing we're here to do is to do what we came here to do, is to fulfill our mission, you know, and it's different for all of us. And as long as we all do that in whatever way it is, everything's going to be sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how we win. By being ourselves, by freeing ourselves to be ourselves. Oh dear, that's very corny, but go on, sing a song about it, Litmus.
Yeah, play us out.
Because I'm a free man. That's not my name. I'm not your slave. I live by the moral law, and that's how I'll behave, with love and respect for my fellow man. I remind those of your kind, your statutes never can control the freeborn with their rules and their demands. For I will not stand under what I do not understand. 'Cause I'm a free man on the land. And I'm doing everything I can. Though I may travel by the sea, I will not pour its contract law, your power over me. I want no part of your society. You're overruled as freeborn fool to finally breaking free. My birth was registered, but my parents never meant for me to work my life for you when I do not consent. 'Cause I'm a free man on the land. And I'm doing everything I can to be a free man on the land. Your phony money, your twisted tongues, the corporate corruption of your cities fills my lungs. I see through your fiction, you're a Roman law. Now I'm wise, you capitalize, so you can tax the poor. Submission, application, registration's not for me. 'Cause the planet is my country, and through all your dogma I can see. 'Cause I'm a free man on the land. And I'm doing everything I can to be a free man on
Litmus, we love you so much. Miss you, bro, and it's just been so fantastic to get you on the show tonight.
My heart's wide open now, Litmus.
For coming along, bro. And thanks for all the crew for being here and being involved, and thanks for all the listeners out there. And this is Darkcity saying
Paul
thank you so much.
Yeah, good night, everyone. We'll see you all soon. Paul, over
cheers.
to you.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers, Brad. Cheers, Kaz. Love you loads. Take care.
Love you, Litmus.
If you do want to stay tuned, the listeners, there'll probably be more than likely will be a simulcast coming up from Flagship Radio with any members of the crew what want to join in. The hosting that show is It's Rupert. Just wanted to let you know that we'll play a bit of a jingle and we may be back on in a few moments. If you don't hear from us within half an hour, we've gone and it didn't work. But yeah, there we go. We will give you a bit of this and we'll catch you later.
You're listening to Darkcity Radio Live. Tune in at www.darkcityradio.com. You can find us by searching Darkcity Radio on Facebook or Twitter.